a gerund, we use the verb the base form. Okay, plus ing. Now, what is the function of the participle in a sentence? A participle functions as what in a sentence?
Modifier.
Yes.
Modifier.
Okay, very good. It functions as a modifier. What about the infinitive phrase? Yes.
It functions as a noun, adjective, or an adverb.
Okay, so an infinitive functions as a noun in a sentence. It also functions as adjective and an adverb in a sentence. What about the gerund? What is the function of gerund in a sentence? Any other hand? Yes, Kimberly.
A gerund is a verb form that ends in ing and is used in the same way as a noun is.
Okay, so just like what your classmate said a while ago, the function of gerund in a sentence, it functions as
Noun.
a noun. Okay, so our discussion for today would be focused with what we call gerund. Okay, I want you to recall our discussion when you were in third year about the different function of a noun. Because this time, we will associate the function or the gerund and the gerund phrase function as a noun in a sentence. So, kindly recall about your knowledge when it comes to the function of noun. Noun or the functions functions of noun. What are the different functions of noun? Let me give one. Okay, it functions as an object of the verb. Okay, then yes.
Subject of the preposition.
Is that a subject? Preposition? Yes. Subject. Okay. It functions as a subject in a sentence. Yes, Luella.
Object of the preposition.
Okay. It is the object of the preposition. Okay. Before we discuss what are the different types of preposition, right? So later on we will go back with them. Next, what is the form? Yes, Randy. Okay. It functions as a positive of the sentence. Then we have, okay, we still have one.
Subjective of the
Okay. It functions as subjective complement. Okay. So during your third year class, we already discussed these functions of noun. Now, we will go back again with them, but this time we will be using gerund. Okay? We will apply the gerund as well as the gerundial phrase or the gerund phrase. So going back with the definition of a gerund. How do we form a gerund again? Yes,
It functions as how noun functions.
okay, it functions as how noun functions, just like with this file. Now, my question is, how do we form a gerund? Yes.
Verb plus ing.
Okay, verb plus ing in forming a gerund. Okay? For example, let us have the word create. Okay? We have the word create. The word create is under what parts of speech?
verb.
Okay, verb. Therefore, it is a verb. Is Is this the base form, the S form, the past tense, or the past participle form of the verb? What is the form of this? Yes.
Base form of the
Okay, it is the base form. Now, how can we form, since the word gerund, it comes from a verb plus ing, how can we make the word create as gerund?
Add ing.
Yes. Okay, add ing, so ing, we need to cancel the word in, then we add ing.
Creating.
Okay, creating. Now, is this an example of gerund?
Yes.
Okay, this is an example of gerund. Okay, when we say phrase, what do we mean?
Sir,
Sir.
Yes.
group of words that doesn't have meaning.
Okay, it is a group of words that doesn't have or sometimes doesn't contain a complete meaning. Okay, what if class I would add another word with the word gerund, creating. I would add creating jobs for people. Okay, creating jobs for people. Now, what or how can we classify now this creating jobs for people? We say that this is a gerund, or this word is a gerund word. Now, I added some word into the gerund creating. Okay, then I ask you to define what is a phrase.
Yes.
Now, how do I call this group of words now?
Phrase.
Yeah.
Is this a phrase?
Prepositional phrase.
Is this a prepositional phrase?
No.
What kind of phrase is this?
Positive phrase.
Is this an a positive phrase?
Gerund.
Yes.
Gerund phrase.
Okay, this is now what we call the
Gerund phrase.
gerund
Phrase.
phrase,
They
or
Modify.
we can call it as gerund phrase. Okay, so we have now phrase, or what we call the gerund phrase and gerund phrase. Then going back with this one, functions of noun. We have the object of the verb, subject, object of the preposition, a positive and subjective complement. So let us now use the word creating jobs for people, okay, as a subject of a sentence. Okay, anyone can use or construct a sentence using creating jobs for people as a subject. Okay, yes.
The government is creating jobs for people.
The government is creating jobs for people. Will you please try to write your sentence on the board? May I erase this one?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hold for a member.
You will be the board member. Yes, not the board member, or the chairman of the board.
SK.
Okay.
SK.
Government is creating jobs for people. Now, what is the gerund in that sentence?
Sir.
Yes.
Sir.
Yes. Okay. The word creating. Okay, stop laughing. It's just natural. Okay? Okay. Now, what is the gerund phrase? Remember, we call it a gerund phrase or gerundial phrase because it starts or begins with a gerund. Okay, what is the gerund phrase?
Sir. Baby ko spoon me by Jenny.
Yes, Tia. What is the gerund phrase? Okay, let us see if Tia understands what we have discussed about phrase.
Sir. Whoa.
Remember, just like what I said, we call it gerund phrase because it begins or starts with gerund.
Sir. Sir, I help my ex. I help my ex.
Yes, underline the gerund phrase. Come on, don't be afraid. I will not kill you.
Sir, panik kami. Panik kami, sir. Takutang ko.
Don't be afraid, you will not die.
Sir, I can help my brother.
When we say phrase, it is not just a word.
Yes, sir. What a word.
It is a group of words.
Sir, I help my dear. Sir, I help my classmate. I help my classmate.
Okay, Noella. Okay. Is she able to underline the gerund phrase in a sentence? Okay, very good. Now, I want to ask you, excuse me. I am here. Okay, I want to ask you, what is the function of the underlined gerund phrase in a sentence? Yes.
As a subject.
Does it function as a subject?
No.
No, sir, no.
Anybody?
Adjective.
Yes. Okay, it functions as
Subjective complement.
Because government.
okay, it functions as subjective complement. What is the subject? Okay, the government is the subject in this sentence. Remember that I taught you before in class that with the word is or the be verb, if the gerund or if a specific word or noun, pronoun comes right after the be verb, which are is, was, are, were, am, and so on and so forth, it is automatically that the noun or pronoun comes right after the be verb is an example of subjective complement because this kind of verb doesn't need an object. Did you get it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, right after the is, was, were, and are. Okay, it is a subjective complement. Remember that.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we have now the subjective complement. Okay, so anybody can use the word creating jobs for people or the phrase creating jobs for people. Okay, as or function as a subject. Do we have anybody here? Can use the
Yes,
phrase
sir.
creating jobs for people.
Barangay captain is creating job for people.
Yes. Okay.
Jobs for people. Yes. Surprise.
A.
For all of our president.
Okay. Creating jobs for people is the aim of our president. Now, may I ask anybody to identify the gerund used in the sentence?
Sir. Sir.
Yes, Jamil. What is the gerund? Okay, the word creating. Will you please put it inside the box? Okay. Creating is the gerund. Now, may I ask anybody to underline the gerund phrase? Yes, Sherla. Okay. Is it correct?
Wrong, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, who said yes?
Yes.
Who said no? And who are undecided? Okay, you didn't want to participate. So, your classmate answered it correctly. Okay. How can we say that it is the subject? Remember that we have the two types or two parts of a sentence. We have the subject and the predicate. We said that the subject, it is the one that is being talked about in a sentence. And we said that the predicate tells something about the subject. Now, the one that is being talked about here is creating jobs for people. But what is the aim or the goal of our president?
Creating jobs for people.
Okay, creating jobs for people.
People.
So, what about creating jobs for people?
Is the aim of our president.
Okay, very good. So, do you now understand that in this case or in this example, this phrase, or to be specific, this gerund phrase function as a subject in the sentence?
Yes.
Okay, and remember that a subject comes first before the verb, right?
Yes, sir.
As always, or most of the time, the subject comes first before the verb. What is the verb here? Pamela? Is that so? Yes. Creating. Yes. Is our verb. Yes. The word creating, it is a verb in form, but it is now a gerund and it functions as a noun. It is not a verb or it is not a word that functions as a noun. It is not. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Next. Subject. Next. Let us have object of the verb. Of the verb. Okay. Remember that the object of the verb, it answers the question what. Okay. Sometimes to whom or for whom. Okay. It can be direct object and indirect object. Anyone can construct a sentence using the phrase creating jobs for people.
Creating jobs for people.
Yes. It should come right after the verb. To be specific, action verb. So that it will function as an object of the verb. If it is linking verb, it doesn't function as a verb or object of the verb. It functions as subjective.
Complement.
With the action verb, it would function as what? Object
object
of
of
a verb.
preposition.
Now, anybody here? Do we have? Okay, very good. So, this is the example of sentence that we may have. Means just okay, papaparalakwa na. Okay, so object of the verb means success means creating jobs for people. What is the gerund used in the sentence? Like a, sir, like a.
Neta pa yung video, sir.
Alden, tataan ng CLTV 36.
Sir,
Okay, so it is the
creating.
okay, gerund. Okay, creating. Now, what is the phrase?
Sir. Lalaki.
I want this scenario. Okay, creating jobs for
People.
Now, what is our verb in this sentence? Yes. What is the verb in this sentence? Okay. Is okay. Success means what?
Creating
Creating job for people.
Does it answer the question what?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Want the answer.
Yes. It is the object of the verb or the transitive verb means. Okay? So we have success as the subject, we have the means as a verb, and we have this as the object. To be specific, the direct object of the transitive verb because it answers the question rather what? Did you get it?
Yes.
Okay, don't be confused with this one. Okay, that is what we call, those are examples of what we call with those action verbs. Okay, then here we have the linking verb. Okay, so is that clear to everybody? Yes. Okay, you want to copy first before we continue? Okay, copy. Copy.
Distance.
Okay. Okay, you will copy phrase,
Yes, sir.
the board, and the